Hello class, this is the web television lecture, and it's going to be an interactive lecture which is going to be built into Storify that shows you web television clips, web television shows, and web television examples as we go through. It's also going to give a lot of examples of vloggers and the beta personality that I'll be talking about. The reason I built it this way is because a lot of the clips I can't cut up and put into one lecture because of copyright issues. I tried it last year, it didn't work out, it ended up being a lot more work than it was worth. But also, because I'm writing a book about this subject, this is chapter 6, I want to use a lot of what I've written already and post it into the document so you can kind of see what I mean by the beta character, the beta personalities, and the new type of character that should be written for a web-based environment. This is part of a changing industry of web television and television in general, and this will lead us to the Future of Television lecture. This will also lead us to 2 different homework assignments that I think you'll like a fair amount, and I'll explain those in a little bit. So to start, web television is something that began when YouTube really made its way onto the screen. Now, we did have former versions of web television. It is in the late 90s, there was a show called The Spot, and The Spot was basically a chat room in video form. A daring television executive said, you know what, chat rooms seem to boil a lot of cool personalities together. Why don't we create like a reality-based show? This is pre-reality TV, and they made it like that. So that was an older show. There's also a web television channel called Pseudo.com, and Pseudo.com was a part of a project that Josh Harris, the artist, put together, and it's an incredibly long story to explain there, and I highly recommend you watch a film called We Live in Public. It's a bit disturbing, but it's a very revolutionary, and it's a very good look at web television from the late 90s and how much today we are part of a culture of entertainment that wants to look at other people. It predates reality TV, and it makes us look at it in a very new and unique way. So from here on, make sure you read and watch what I've written so you can see what's going on, and this way we all get a sense of what web television is and where it's going. Okay, not sure if you noticed, but the light keeps changing because the sun keeps going in and out of clouds, so that's why it becomes yellow and back. Also, I know you noticed the Officer's Country thing in the background. Yeah, the apostrophe should be after the S. I don't know. I found the sign. I like it. Anyway, now that you've seen a couple of the web television shows from Homestar Runner through Weenie Girlfriends and Chad Vader and the Guild, you get to see that the early era of YouTube allowed users to get in there and try to make narrative fiction in a new space, a new online space that allowed them to express themselves differently than the way that traditional television would ever allow them to. Now, what happened soon after is kind of interesting. 3 simultaneous events occurred that shifted the television industry almost incredibly and completely. Here's where we'll touch upon the very beginning of vlogging and the shift in the way that web television worked. In 2007, the writers of television, the Writers Guild of America, decided to go on strike. That strike ended up costing the writers a lot more of an issue than it did help them out. The writers were looking for a little more advancement of a percentage on income on DVD sales, on reruns, and on new media. New media was giving them nothing, so they were really looking for some sort of income in any way towards a new media perspective, such as Hulu, which is just coming out, and Netflix, which was just starting its streaming service. So they're looking for more income. They went on strike. Now that caused a couple of things. One, it caused an explosion of reality television shows. If I were to ask you how many reality TV shows were there in the year 2000, the answer would be 5. 5 of them. 5 reality shows were in 2000. You could probably name them. Real World, Road Rules, The Gauntlet, Cops, and one more. That was it. How many do you think were in the year 2013? I know I'm just talking to you, so you can't answer this, but how many do you think it would be? Just real quick, think of it in your head. 2013, how many reality shows? Well, I'll tell you. It was 350. A little over that. I think it was 363. That's an amazing number of reality television shows. That makes up 1/3 of the television industry is reality-based. And that's because it doesn't require writers. It requires people to watch. But it also requires people to understand that they're looking at people who are just like them. And that's pretty important to think about. That themselves are what the audience is desiring to look at. The other factor that comes in here is the explosion of web-based television. When Joss Whedon decided he went on strike because of solidarity, but he still wanted to create. And he created one of the best web television shows of all time, Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along Blog. While he can't require you to watch the entire Dr. Horrible's, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's 42 minutes. It's on Netflix, and you should watch it. It has an ending that is definitely unairable on traditional markets. And so that's something that is a web television series. He called in a lot of favors, but he also used celebrity to make sure that he was part of it. And Neil Patrick Harris, Nathan Fillion, and Felicia Day from The Guild came in and worked on it. And the opening sequence of Dr. Horrible's mimics that of The Guild's opening sequence, which you just saw. It's a vlogger speaking directly to a screen. And that brings us to the third thing. Vloggers, beta people, personalities that decided to be themselves and display themselves online. And how much that affected the industry is immense, considering the fact that in 2010, the New York Times writes an article about Shane Dawson, about the comedian for the under 30 crowd. And as of this month's Variety magazine, Shane Dawson and Jenna Marbles graced the cover.